To his right. Now Walcott crouches, takes a short hook on the chin, put a light there.
Have any real-life experiences influenced your writing?
Yes, they have. As I said, I trained 6 to 2 in the morning in Compton, and South Central, and Chinatown, all over. And I've seen, we were called out, gunshot wounds, child laying down, being shot. It really moved me. And I learned a lot from it, because not only did I write 6 to 2 in the morning with the Los Angeles police, Chicago police, Miami police, I wrote the days with the probation officers. And the probation officer I became friends with, I would tell them to tell the gang members and the families we visited that I'm writing a book. I really wasn't, but I wanted to learn from them. And so I got to know the gang members, talk to the families, and I got to learn a lot. And I'll tell you one that really taught me a lot, that helped me with college teaching, is there was a little 7 or 8-year-old boy, maybe 8 years old. He was with a rock knocking out streetlights in Los Angeles. And so I was with the uniformed gang unit, and they picked the kid up and said, "Where do you live?" And we took him back to his home. And he was 8 or 9 years old. And I'll never forget, I'm a white, and the policeman was white. And the mother screaming at us, "What did my son do?" And she said, "Well, he got a rock and he's knocking out streetlights." She goes, "Why? Come here, look at here." She said, "The toilets don't flush, they're all blocked. Look at my baby." She pulled a bandage off the baby. Baby's about 8 months old, off the head, and here the baby had stitches. A rat was chewing on the baby's head. I guess some milk was there. And I'm looking at her, and the policeman said, we're gonna go. And I thought to myself, here's this boy, this 8-year-old boy. He's gonna grow up blaming all the problems on two white people he saw, because his mother was venting at us. I mean, the landlord could have been a black person, or a Hispanic person, or a white person. So I learned a lot from my visits from 6 to 2 in the morning. I wouldn't have learned as much if I went from 9 to 4. But 6 to 2 in the morning, I wore a bulletproof vest, I went out and raised, helped frisk people. So I learned a lot at those cities.
We're going to move on to some questions about publishing in the industry. What are your thoughts about Luminous Library?
Yeah, well, I self-published, and I was referred to this one agency, and it was a bad experience. They charged me for things that they never did. What I wanted, they didn't do, and it was just a nightmare. And somehow, Luminous got my phone number, and they called me. And I think it was somebody from that agency, because the person who called from Luminous, okay, he was a great guy, Ethan Gallagher. He said, "Well, I'm returning your call." I said, "I didn't call you." And he said, "Is this your name? Is this your phone number? Is this your email address?" I said, "Yeah." And the only other person I had that was that publishing company. So someone in that publishing company knew that they weren't treating me right and referred me to Luminous Library. And I got in touch with Ethan Gallagher. Since then, he's been helping me out a great deal, and I recommend highly. I'm saying, and one thing I really love about him and his company, whenever the old company I call, if someone wasn't there, I'd be explaining my whole situation to every new person I talked to. I talked to 4 or 5 different people. But one day, he was supposed to call me back on something he was helping me with, and someone else called me back. And I started to explain myself. He said, "No need to explain yourself. At Luminous here, we all have an assistant, and we take the important phone calls, and the assistant has everything that you told your manager." And so to me, that's great. I wish I had that, maybe I wouldn't end up with such problems.
What advice would you give to aspiring authors?
Well, to me, the best advice is, if you feel something in your heart, as I do with this book means everything to me. I didn't write this book to make money. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind if I make some money, but if I want extra money, I get a part-time job, right? I'm 76 years old, you know what I'm saying? I work part-time. But if I could get this book into every library, in every inner city, in every country, because everyone has gangs, I would take a loss on it, because this is my legacy. When I pass away, I want my obituary to say, he wrote the book Pokey, the Wannabe Gang Member. Because, Wannabe Gang Puppy. Because this is my legacy. Because you're always going to have gangs. You're gangs from the beginning of time, and you're gangs forever. You're always going to have gangs. And I want this book to live on.
How do you deal with criticism and reviews?
I've only had very positive reviews. The book, I was very cognizant of not scaring children, because I geared it from first grade to third grade, kindergarten to third grade. So like, if I say 2 gangs of wolves met each other and they're growling and biting and scratching, I just had them lined up looking at each other. I didn't show them fighting. And then Pokey took the opportunity to run away, to run back home. Well, what I did was, he was playing with rabbits. I had the rabbits in the scene and the wolves looking at each other, and I had him jumping over a rock and smiling at his friends, the rabbits, because I didn't want to show fear on his face. Because again, I'm very cognizant that it's a children's book. So, and it has a very happy ending.
Do you recommend Luminous Library to anyone?
Yes, I strongly recommend it. And not only do I recommend it, someone from the company did call Luminous Library and gave them my name. So they obviously, they were the only ones that had my email address and my phone number and everything that they would call up to another publishing company. So someone in that company knew what was happening and pretended to be me calling them. There's no doubt in my mind.
Do you prefer traditional publishing or self-publishing?
I believe self-publishing is the best if you get a good publishing company. And the reason why I say that is because you have more control over it. Once you have a publisher, regardless of how much they get, what percentage they get, self-publishing, you don't get 100%, but regardless of what percent they get, they have to say on your book.
Let's move to some personal and fun questions. What books or authors have influenced your writing the most?
Well, I never thought I'd be a writer, okay? But if I had to pick an author that would influence me or that I really respect, it would be, I'd have to say William Shakespeare. And I say that because he could write about anything. He wrote about Julius Caesar, which is history. He wrote a Midsummer's Night's Dream, which is like a comedy. He wrote Romeo and Juliet. Did he move me? Let me tell you something. In 1968, I was 19 years old. I went to the movies to see Romeo and Juliet. And it was based on his book. I was in tears, my girlfriend was in tears. So for a person, how many centuries ago that was, to move someone in 1969, still moving people now, that's an author.
If you could have dinner with any writer, living or dead, who would it be?
William Shakespeare. Or if I could pick another one, I'd say Truman Capote. And I say Truman Capote because I read his book, which was mandatory reading back when I was going to college. It was In Cold Blood. And that book, when you read that book, the Clutter family was murdered by 2 guys who were in jail. But you became part of that family. You actually, we talked about the wig and how they put styrofoam in their head to try and make their faces. I mean, it really, really was moving.
What's the weirdest or funniest thing that has happened to you as an author?
This book, and I'll tell you why. As a young boy, I went to school, I stuttered. And back in those days, you got disciplined for stuttering from everybody, family, everybody. And I got held back in 7th grade. I quit school twice in 10th grade. I was found a juvenile delinquent. I was in my teen years. So, even now I teach college. I spelled before on the board, B-E-F-O-R, and someone said there's an E on the end. I said, no, there's not. They went, yeah. I'm thinking, I'm teaching here at King's 46 years and no one ever told me that. So I really don't have a background in spelling. The times tables, I know the 2 times tables, the 5 times tables, and the 10 times tables by heart. But that's about it. So for me writing a book, people looking at me as an author, that's weird and that's funny, knowing my background.
If your book was turned into a movie, who would play the main characters?
Well, of course, there's dogs and wolves and stuff, but I'd have to say, it'd have to be a puppy, a cute puppy, an innocent puppy. I wouldn't want a German Shepherd or I wouldn't want a bulldog or a pit bull, okay? Because not that they're gangs, but I want something that is so different from wolves.
What's one piece of writing advice you wish you had known earlier?
Probably how to find the right publisher. You know, I should have done more research. I went and I just had a bad experience and almost another bad experience with another publisher until I found Luminous Library.